So we're here to talk about LinkedIn specifically for job and career. Now, I work with folks on different aspects of LinkedIn. I have a business program, I work with sales teams, I work with marketing teams, but today what we're talking about is using LinkedIn for job and career and for transition. So that's the bent that I'm going to take with you today. So I'm going to start off, this is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to share a few statistics, which I believe are going to be very important to all of us. And then we're going to talk about my philosophy, because whenever you're thinking about how you're using a platform, the person who's talking has a philosophy. So I want to kind of be open about that, what my philosophy is on how, I know Evelyn knows my philosophy, but not all of you do know how I prefer to use LinkedIn, and that's a really very personalized, customized way. And then we're going to go into like a 5-step process, and I'm going to show you the jobs tab at the very end. So that's the plan for this morning. So a couple statistics. There are 347 million people on LinkedIn, and maybe I'm in the way here. 2 new members join every second. And let me give you some perspective on the scope of that. That if you look at the Ivy League enrollment, so you think about, those are very large schools, right? So Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Brown, Cornell, Columbia, etc. The entire enrollment joining LinkedIn every day. That's the kind of numbers we're talking about. So it's a place to be, definitely from a professional perspective. This is also very interesting. So LinkedIn, this was actually about a year ago. This is a statistic on the average estimated income. And this is twice what you see with Twitter and Facebook. So the point is, the people that are joining are typically more higher income than the other social media platforms. And remember, LinkedIn is worldwide. It's 23 languages. It's not just Fairfield County we're talking about. It's all over. So it's a very high income group, comparatively speaking. This one's important for us. So 94% of recruiters are using LinkedIn to find candidates, to engage with candidates, to evaluate candidates. So you've got all of those things happening. So even if most of them are using them to find candidates, but even if you find them or you meet them somehow, they're still going to look at your profile. So they're using it in a lot of different ways. There's even a special platform for recruiters that's a premium platform to help them find the talent that they're looking for. And why is this so big? I mean, these are really the reasons. Think about this. 33% decrease in time to hire. Wow, right? And they're getting better quality candidates. So you can see why this is not going to go away. People, recruiters and hiring managers, companies are using LinkedIn to find the talent that they need. I love this statistic. So the U.S. Bureau, and you had some U.S. Bureau of Labor statistics as well, 70% of new jobs are found through networking, right? And I just got this recently, in fact, last week, this statistic, and it's so important because this is really how you should be using LinkedIn. And some people only use it for the search, but I like to teach it that you use it for the search perspective so that you're found and that you can find people, but that you also understand the etiquette and how to network and make those connections happen for yourself rather than being more passive. So that's a really important statistic. And this is what I like to say we want to avoid. And does anybody know what this might be?
Yes.
Black hole. A black hole. So what this is, and I see this, and I see it a lot of times with new college grads. They say to me, I've been out of college for 2 years, and I've applied to 300 jobs online, and that's what happens to them. So, and I also see it with people that are baby boomers and Gen Y. And if you are applying to jobs online, it's the hardest thing you can possibly do. And so what we're talking about today is everything but applying for jobs online, right? So it's all about relationships. And when you think back about that networking, and you think too, the hiring manager, why is this such a big issue? The hiring manager gets hundreds of applications. They're putting it online because it's a compliance issue. They're being told you must put it online. They don't even want to look at all those, right? So they get the 200 or 300 applications, or in the case of like an Aetna, they'll get 5,000 applications, right? And the person they're going to look at is the person who, say Ben's a colleague of mine, and I'm in a corporation. He walks down the hall and he says, he hands over a resume, and he says, or he introduces me to someone at lunch and says, here's someone I want you to talk to. This will be good for your position. All of a sudden, that person becomes elevated in terms of how I'm going to be looking at that person. Because if I'm a hiring manager, what am I? I'm afraid. I'm afraid to make a mistake. And one of your biggest mistakes you can make is hiring the wrong person. So just to pick someone online that you don't have any connection with is very risky. So hopefully you're convinced that you don't want to do this. And I see a lot of the kids come out of school and the colleges don't tell them that. So here are the stats that matter. So I just showed you some stats. So when someone says to me, I've been out of work for a year, or I've been out of college for 2 years or a year, and they say I've done this many applications, those stats don't matter to me at all. These are what I would count if I was in a job transition. I'd want to know how many LinkedIn profile views are you getting. That's something you can measure, and that's an element of how interested people are in you, right? If they're interested in interviewing you, talking to you, they heard about you, they're going to look at you. Secondly, how many introductions and warm referrals are you getting? How many face-to-face meetings are you doing every week? If you're just going online and thinking it's all going to be there, it's going to be much harder for you. So measure these kind of things, and then follow-up is huge. You can go into a corporation, whether it's from a sales perspective or from a job search, and you can be the number 3 candidate. Maybe they interviewed 8. You can be number 3. And within a matter of 2 weeks, because these companies take a long time, if you do the right follow-up, you can move yourself up to number 1 position. Because so many people are so bad at this. 90% of the people don't do this well. So take yourself from that number 3 position of an interview and do great follow-up, track your follow-up, and they will think you will rise in their eyes after the interview. Okay, so I told you I'd share about my philosophy. So my goal is not to have you apply online. My goal is that you get referred. The person who walks down the hall, or the person who invites you to coffee with somebody or tries to do an introduction. So my goal is to get referred. You want to be personable, helpful, friendly, and optimistic. And it seems funny to say this, to be optimistic, but I have to tell you, I was speaking yesterday to a group of job seekers, and I could tell the body language of one person in the room who was so negative. And I was shocked because, I mean, it was really evident to me how upset this person was while I was presenting. And I talked to her after, and I said, "Are you okay?" And so I'm just saying, it comes across if it's very stressful. You gotta make yourself positive. You gotta do whatever you can, whatever support you need, because being positive comes through. Being optimistic comes through loud and clear to people. So then this is how I would suggest you do it. You build a personal brand and your network. This is the first part. Seeking advice versus a job. There's a saying that goes, if you are asking for a job, you'll get advice. But if you're asking for advice, you'll get a job. You like that? It's true. So you think about it, it's kind of like in the sales game, and my background is sales, right? I have to say that. I come at this from a sales hat, but to me, making a sale is the same thing as getting a job, right? It's exactly the same thing. You are trying to get hired for your expertise, regardless, right? Whether you're making a sale or doing that. And if I'm going to come in and say, Ben, I would like to meet with you because I want to sell you something, or Ben, I'd like to meet with you because I need a job, versus Ben, let's sit down. I have some ideas. I'd like to brainstorm with you. I'd like to use some advice. Can we talk about that, right? And then maybe be specific about, I've read his profile. I know what he's all about, and I can be very specific. Do you see the difference?
Right.
Right? So, and then the follow-up, of course, which we just talked about, and being a thought leader for all of these situations is very important. So step 1 is personal brand and network. I'm going to keep this simple, and by the way, this presentation is all about the what. It's not the how. If we were doing the how, we'd be sitting there with a computer and I'd be showing you how to do it. Today is really a short overview of the what, of what we need to do. So making that commitment, and that means investing in yourself to figure out what is your brand, how am I sharing it online, and network. People fall into their networks. It's amazing to me. I had a client that he was in New York City. He came out on the train to meet with me in Westport to do his LinkedIn work because he lost his job. He was 50, marketing guy, very talented guy. So we did his profile. He had all the skills and everything. And I said, okay, let's look at your network, your first level connections, to see where we can get you out networking, right? And he said to me, I don't trust my network. And I was really moved by that. He was honest. He said, I don't trust them. I don't know them. I connected with people I don't have any clue who they are. And I thought, and he also said to me, what I want to do is I want to find all the CEOs because he wanted to be VP of sales. He said, I want to connect with all the CEOs, and we can certainly find them. I said, well, I can show you how to find all those people, and we can target software sales or whatever you want. I said, but that's not what I would suggest you do. To just go cold to all these people, I would suggest that you spend time, build your network, build a warm network. I just wrote a blog post that's on LinkedIn right now about warming up your network, and he needed to go back to square one and warm his network in order to make this happen. And I see it all the time where people haven't invested. You have to make a decision. Who is your network? What are you doing about it? Who are you accepting? And what are you doing for your network? If you wake up every day saying, what's my network doing for me? You're probably not having much success. But if you're thinking about the things you do for your network, like I said, the advice, the job, it all comes around. So make your commitment to yourself and figuring out who you are. And part of that brand is your expertise, like you're a marketing expert or you're a leadership coach, but it's also how you help others. And that becomes a huge way for you to attract people to you. And so it's fun too. So let's talk about the next part, so it's more tactical, is you want to have a great headshot and you want to have a great profile. You want it to be complete. If your profile is complete, people can find you more easily. So there's a whole search function in LinkedIn, and you want to be high on the search. So there's a few ways that can happen. They can look for you by name. They can look for you by keywords. They might put in leadership coach, and they could put those keywords in for Ben, right? Or people would put in LinkedIn or whatever for me. Think about what your words are. So it'd be by word or by name. And again, it's all back to those profile views. One of the stats you want to measure is how many people are looking at your profile. So the whole idea of being complete, what LinkedIn will do is it will actually sort of like grade, kind of like Google grades what website they're going to show first. LinkedIn grades your page. And if you're not complete, and also your activity makes a difference too, in terms of how you're going to be shown when someone is searching. So you want to make sure about that. Oh, by the way, my philosophy is there's some people that will teach LinkedIn that you only want to care about the words and you stuff the words in just to be found. And the way I teach it is you want to be found, but once they get to your page, you want them to actually like you. So you want it to be friendly and sound natural. So yes, let's say I'm looking for Walker here, and I want to make sure when I do get there that I'm so interested in him that I want to call him, that I want to meet with him. So you have to try to figure out how do you make yourself not only findable, searchable, but approachable, right? So they call you, they have that meeting. All right, so here's a couple of examples. This is a great headshot. Your headline is what you choose. She's a friend of mine, and I worked with her on her profile. She chose to pick her corporate title, but that's up to you, and you can think about using the words there. One of the new features that LinkedIn came out with last fall, it started with premium accounts, and now it's rolling out to everyone, is the background photo. Now she's up in Hartford, and she wanted a corporate image. She wanted an image that portrayed, her Hartford, where she's working. So that's what she picked as the skyline there. This is another person I've worked with. He originally started naming the name of his firm, and he realized, well, people aren't necessarily searching for the name of his firm. So we use the right words for him. So he's a real estate attorney. So we've got all the right words: residential, commercial, real estate, etc. on his title. He got a great new headshot, and he has a customized banner for his personal brand. And think about this. So he works in the New York and Connecticut area, so there's a map of his area. We use the word cloud to show real estate, the words that he's known for. And he has a flag on Fairfield Beach because he's from Fairfield and he's a veteran. So that was created for him as part of his personal branding. You like it? Good. So then again, think about all the profile elements that there are. There's a lot of new ones that maybe you're not aware. If you've been on LinkedIn for a while, you might not be aware. There's a lot. So for example, if you're in the financial services, there's certifications. If you've got the Series 7 or Series 63, don't put them in with a higher ed. Make sure you got things in the right categories and you got them in the right order. And depending on your industry, certain sections are more important. If you're a writer and you're an author, I want to see that you put your publications in here, right? And maybe you're linking to Amazon. If you're a financial person, you use the certifications. All the different things that you might, think about as far as for you, making it work for you. There's a lot of new sections that are really important. Here's some stats directly from LinkedIn. So we talked about increasing your profile views. So by adding your 2 most recent work positions 12 times, you're going to get more 12 times the profile views. Listing your skills, some people don't use it, and it's a shame because if you don't list your skills, you're missing out. 13 times, they know how many people are viewing the profiles. But look at this, include the photo, 14 times more likely to have your profile viewed. So some people will not look at profiles that don't have a photo. Some people, and I'm a group manager, some groups won't accept you if you don't have a photo. Have a photo you love, because if you love your photo, remember we're trying to get people to look at your profile page, and you want to love it, so you want to get people to come there. You want to feel good. It's a positive thing. So that's a big part of looking good online. Recommendations and endorsements. So nowadays, people actually trust a lot of the online recommendations that you see. I mean, we see it all over. There's Facebook reviews, there's Google reviews, there's Yelp reviews, and of course, LinkedIn has recommendations, which they've had for about 7 or 8 years, and they have endorsements that they've had about 2.5, 3 years. So both of them are valuable. Both of them, don't underestimate any of them. So you want to ask people for recommendations at the right time, and you also want to give recommendations because that will show well of you as far as, and making sure this is authentic. These are people you believe in and that you would really want to write a recommendation for. And endorsing, using that as part of your networking. So it's not what LinkedIn is suggesting for you, but you want to use the endorsements when it's natural as part of your networking routine, right? So if someone does you a favor, so I might go, for example, today, I think I will, I'm going to go to Ben's profile, and I'm going to endorse him for some of the things that he talked about, because I've now seen it, right? I've experienced it. So that's an example of what would be real, and it would be the right timing to do it, not just to do it any old time. So the next piece, I'll take questions at the end, is learn the navigation, the networking, and the etiquette. I've seen people that go and have a great profile, but then they don't know how to operate. They don't know how to connect properly. They don't know how to do the proper introductions or invitations. They're asking for things that they really shouldn't be asking. I had a woman who I didn't know send me a message about a month ago. She was signed up for a class in Stanford that she was unable to make, and she sent me a note asking me to introduce me to Carol. She didn't give me the last name. I didn't even know her. So I had to go back and tell her, I'm happy to make introductions for people that I know, but I don't know you. I mean, that's awkward. That's awkward for me to have to go and tell her that. And I said, and what Carol are you talking about? Because I have a couple Carols that I know. So the point is, and she's a nice lady, I'm sure, but she didn't realize there's etiquette involved about your asking favors, how you get introductions. All of those things are very important. So make sure you're really up on all that. This is an example of a best practice, and that is you always want to personalize your any type of invitation to connect. And this is just an example of one. This is a guy that I used to work with, but I really did not remember him. Nice guy. He wasn't in my department. I worked at Pitney Bowes a long time ago. And we had 39 shared connections. So obviously, if I just saw that, that's interesting. I'm thinking, okay, I must know him, right? But look at the nice message. I was the speaker last June at the Innovation Center, and he was coming to hear me speak. So about 3 or 4 days before the speech, he wrote me this nice note. He said, we crossed paths. He gave a little story of where he was. He's now being a consultant, planning to attend, kind of hear me speak. And I just thought this was a very classy, nice, personalized invitation. And so I'm connected with him. And so that's what you want to aim for, is a really nice personal invitation, kind of refreshing the person's memory of how they know you and why you should connect. Group activity is very important, and there's a lot about groups. So you want to really look carefully at the group to make sure it's the right group, that it's relevant, that it's strategic. And again, groups have etiquette as well. So there's a thing called group rules. And any group that you're in, you want to make sure you know what the rules are. If you break a rule in the group manager has the power to cut you off from communicating in all the groups. So you want to know what the rules are, and each group has their own rules, right? Some of them don't have any rules, but you can go right in there and find out what the rules are to know. So before you start engaging, know what that is, but you can really meet a lot of people, and you can get a lot of opportunity from groups. You can find jobs, you can find connections, you can find opportunities all over the place. Here's what LinkedIn says. They said, the people, the VP and the partners who were newly hired in 2014 between March and August, this is what they were doing. 80% were sending connection requests, 50% were participating in groups, and 40% were engaging on LinkedIn by shares, likes, and comments. If you compare this to the regular population who didn't get a new job, it's going to be like very low numbers. So these people who were promoted or hired last year, this is what the activity, and they learned how to do it properly. So step 4 is spending that time on your networking, really investing in your network, warming up the people that you know. I really recommend you start with people that you know, because the people you know should be vouching for you, should be introducing you, and you should be doing the same for them, and it all starts happening, right? And then, of course, hiring managers and recruiters, you can find them, you can network with them as well, and you can certainly search for them in LinkedIn. There's lots of ways you can search for these people, either by company, by geography, by function. You can find them, and then thinking about, as you're building your big network, finding what are your connection paths to them. So let's say you see someone that works at GE that you'd love to know that person. Who do you know that knows him, that can introduce you? And that's really the way you want to operate. So does anybody know what this is? Yes, Evelyn knows. So it's a little kind of a little known thing, but it's called a LinkedIn Open Networker. And these are people that are on LinkedIn, and their philosophy, remember we talked about philosophy, their philosophy is you connect with anyone. Anyone who invites you at all. And they'll even say it on their profile that they're a lion, and they'll usually describe and say in their summary somewhere, I accept all invitations, right? And the reason they do, the reason they publicize that, most of the people that are doing that are typically recruiters, okay? They're typically in the recruiting game, and they're just trying to increase their network. So it's not, I don't recommend ever being one of these, but I want you to know what it is, and I want you to say, be able to evaluate a recruiter's profile. If they connect with you, look at the profile, first to try to determine, is this a legitimate person who can really help me? How long have they been in business? Do they have recommendations? What do they say? What is their specialty? If I'm a salesperson, I don't want to hook up with an IT recruiter. I want a sales recruiter, right? So you got to really be discriminating on those people, but it might make sense for some of them to connect with. Just be discriminating about it, okay? Step 5 is follow-up. And you can do your regular follow-up that you normally, your thank you notes, right? Your emails, but there's LinkedIn to help you do all kinds of creative follow-up. So, there's connections, there's introductions, there's endorsements, there's status updates, there's in-mail, all these features you can use. And one thing I do want to say, you want to think about, let's just say you had an interview. You don't want to just think about following up with the interview. Let's say I had an interview with Sean, right? But Hillary introduced me to Sean, right? So I want to think about all the people that my follow-up means I'm going to thank Sean for the interview. I'm going to go back and thank Hillary for the introduction. I'm probably not going to endorse Sean, right? But I'm going to send him a thank you, right? I'm probably going to go and endorse Hillary. I'm going to thank her. I'm going to give her an update, what happened. And then I'm going to probably find a way to endorse her or to help her in some way. Because the people that are helping you and doing those connections, you need to be really actively managing that and making sure that they're happy, because then they get invested in you. So once Hillary hears how I had this great meeting with Sean, thank you for introducing me, I'm going to keep you updated, I'm going to help, how can I help you? She's going to be motivated as a connector to help me connect, right? She's just going to be that way because I've managed that relationship in a positive way. So the whole point of what you're doing on LinkedIn is to be memorable in terms of your profile, how you operate, how you act, how you manage all this, and to be unique, not to be, don't be the green apple, be the red apple in terms of positive, how you connect, how you help people, how you display yourself. All that's really important, and how you follow up. So that was kind of my 5-step. I'm very quickly going to show you. There's a job tab, and for those of you that have taken my class, this is one thing I don't go in the class, but I show here just because I like people to see this. So there's a job tab to actually show you jobs, and you can do a search in there, If you do apply for a job in LinkedIn, I just want to tell you it's completely private, and nobody will see what you're applying for. So that's just something I wanted to let you guys know. It's completely private. You can save the jobs and you can save the searches. Nobody sees this but you. So it's your private vehicle. And what I like to do, and this is a case where I found a job, maybe I'm interested in this job from Xerox. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to just apply. I'm going to say 4 connections to the poster. I'm going to know the person who posted this job. I know 4 people that know this person. So what I'm going to do before I do any resume stuff, I'm going to call those 4 people, or maybe pick the 1 or 2 that I know the best. What can you tell me about Ben? He posted this job. How well do you know him? What's his hot buttons? Where's he been? What can you tell me about him, right? And maybe Ben would say, no problem, I'll give him a call for you because I know him really well. So you check the mutual connections for the job poster, right? That only can help you. The other thing you can do is in the job postings, some of the job postings, by the way, that you can, right through LinkedIn, you can put in your resume, or you can put in, sometimes they'll say just apply with your LinkedIn profile. So if your profile is really great, don't fool around with your resume, just send them the profile, just say apply. Okay, you can do that also on your phone. There's a mobile app. In this case, let's say I don't have any mutual connections, but I know this is the perfect job for me. Well, what I'm going to do, it gives you, in some of the cases, it will show you that you're allowed to send an in-mail, a free in-mail. It's a private message to this recruiter. So in this instance, that's what I would do if I had no connections. I would send a message to this person, so I'm interested in this job, and I would like to have a phone conversation with you. Could we spend 10 minutes on the phone? I have a few questions. I'm very interested in working for Xerox, and etc. And then that person's already, you're going to be memorable over the thousands of other people that have applied for this job, right? So the other thing you can do, at the bottom of your job tab, you can see, and each of this is customized for all of you on your own page. So I can see the companies that have job openings. They show how many job openings are on LinkedIn. And these faces are people that I know. Again, if you've built a big network, it's very important. I know these people. These are faces I know. So if I'm interested in working at Hewlett Packard, I'm going to call her because I know her and say, let's talk about what you know and how we can connect in, right? It's always better to focus on a company than a job anyway, right? Or to focus on a bigger strategy versus I've got to have that one job and I've got to sit here and take all day and apply online. That is just a waste of time. Focus on the big picture, the relationships and the companies and how you can help them. And that seems to work out much better. All right, so just a reminder, these are the stats that matter. I have a handout to share with you guys if you want to have that, but really thinking about things that will get you to the warm meetings are going to help you more than how many applications or how long have I been out of college or how long have I been out of a position, okay? And getting referred and introduced is what it's all about, and being memorable. So that's pretty much what I have to share today, and I guess we'll open it up to